Like this video, subscribe, comment, and share it now, because what happened at Novorossiysk changes the map of the Black Sea War. I am Sophie Edwards, and you are watching my channel, Sophie Edwards. Tonight we are tracking a strike Russia did not want the world to see. A place meant to be a sanctuary, a port meant to be untouchable. The Black Sea Fleet had already suffered a humiliating collapse in Crimea, and Novorossiysk became the fallback, a quiet hiding place for assets Russia could not replace quickly. But Ukraine found the pattern. Ukraine watched the routines. Then it turned night into day. What followed was not a symbolic raid. It was a concentrated attempt to break a naval base and the fleet it supports, right where Moscow thought it could breathe. On the night of March 1st and into March 2nd, Ukraine sent a mass of drones toward Novorossiysk, now described as the Black Sea Fleet's main base. The attack was not limited to the sky. Ukraine combined aerial drones with maritime drones, stacking pressure from multiple directions at once. This matters because it forces defenses to split attention and reveal gaps. The result, according to multiple reports, was heavy damage across the naval port and at least 5 warships struck in a single night. That is the headline. But the deeper point is what it signals. Novorossiysk was supposed to be the safe alternative after Sevastopol became a trap. Ukraine treated it as just another coordinate, and then proved it could reach it at scale. Early detail about the raid circulated through the Dossier Shpiona Telegram channel, which claimed Russian air defense units reported at least 200 attack drones. There was no clear public line from Russia's defense ministry insisting the strike was minor or blaming everything on falling debris. That silence is unusual. It suggests the impact was too visible to reshape with the usual messaging. When a state that routinely downplays damage avoids specifics, it often means the evidence is already spreading through satellite imagery, local footage, and fragmented military reporting. In this case, the claim is simple. Ukraine hit the base hard enough that even a controlled narrative struggled to keep pace with what the port looked like afterward. The irony is that Novorossiysk became important precisely because Russia believed it was out of reach. As far back as October 2023, ABC News reported Russia was moving ships there after Ukrainian strikes battered Sevastopol. It was a tactical withdrawal, trading proximity for distance and layered defenses. The concept was straightforward. If Ukraine could not reach the port, the fleet could survive, regroup, and keep launching pressure. But range is not a fixed rule. The BBC has described Storm Shadow export variants at around 250 kilometers, which shaped earlier assumptions about what Ukraine could hit. Then Ukraine adapted. It developed longer-reach drones and sea systems that made out of range a temporary phrase, not a shield. Ukraine's intelligence messaging had hinted this would happen. In March 2024, Andrei Yusov from Ukraine's main Directorate of Intelligence said Russia was changing tactics, searching for new defense tools, but Ukraine would keep acting. 2 years later, that promise is being measured in burning holes. Reports now focus on 5 ships hit at Novorossiysk, each tied to Russia's ability to operate in the Black Sea and support the wider war. This is not just about naval pride. It is about escorts, anti-drone defenses, missile launch platforms, and the infrastructure that keeps Russian forces supplied. When ships stop sailing and port defenses stop working, the war's geometry shifts. Now we move through the roll call, one ship at a time. First is the Valentin Pikul, described by United 24 Media as a Project 266M minesweeper that suffered significant structural damage. Minesweeper can sound secondary, but that label hides the ship's real value. Deagle notes the Project 266M has a secondary anti-submarine warfare escort role in wartime. That matters when Ukraine relies on undersea systems and maritime drones to threaten ships and port approaches. The Valentin Pikul also carried short-range air defense tools, including Igla missiles and 30mm cannons, plus electronic warfare equipment. In a port under drone threat, even an older ship like this becomes a floating layer of defense. If it is out of commission, the base becomes softer, and the next strike gets easier. Next are two Project 1124M Albatross vessels, Yeysk and Kazimov. Reports say Ukraine hit them while they were moored in Novorossiysk. These are described as small anti-submarine ships, but naval technology notes they are closer to multi-role vessels than a single-purpose platform. That flexibility is exactly why Ukraine targets them. Ships like these can patrol, run reconnaissance, protect convoys, secure communications, and lay underwater mines. They are also part of the defensive web around a naval base, especially when Russia fears maritime drones and sabotage in port. Each ship typically carries a crew of around 80, but casualty reporting suggests many sailors were not aboard at the moment of impact. Even without mass casualties, losing hulls drains capability fast. The Project 1124M package is more than sonar and torpedoes. Naval technology describes systems like the OSA MA-2 surface-to-air missile system, able to engage aircraft and helicopters, alongside other weapons configurations. That matters in a drone war where every layer of air defense counts. And it creates a second effect that is quieter but real. Russia still pays trained sailors and maintains units even when ships are damaged and tied to the pier. It is an economic bleed as much as a military one. A navy built for power projection becomes a harbor-bound force that consumes money while producing fewer options. Ukraine's strategy does not need to sink every ship. It needs to limit Russia's choices until the fleet becomes a collection of liabilities that cannot safely move or defend itself. Then came confirmation of the fourth ship, the Admiral Essen, a frigate and a known caliber cruise missile carrier. Euromaidan Press reported the frigate was hit, with damage tied to systems meant to protect it, including the PK-10 passive countermeasure launchers that deployed decoys and chaff. Kyiv Post later reported the strike was serious enough that the ship could no longer fire caliber missiles. That is a direct strategic impact. Russia has leaned on missile strikes and drone barrages to pressure Ukraine's cities and grid, and caliber missiles have been part of that mix. The New Voice of Ukraine described a major February 7th strike on Ukraine's power grid involving dozens of missiles, including calibers. Remove launch-capable ships, and Russia's pressure tools narrow. Kyiv Post reporting also pointed to damage beyond the headline. Grenade launchers destroyed, electronic warfare systems affected, and parts of missile guidance impaired. Strip those systems and the frigate becomes a moored target rather than an active threat. The fifth ship was identified as a Molniya missile boat, a Project 1241 vessel. Euromaidan Press said Ukrainian drones hit the stern section, where the engine room, generators, and close-range defensive mounts are located. Naval Encyclopedia describes Project 1241 designs as Cold War-era platforms built around anti-ship missiles like the P-270 Moskit. Russia cannot casually replace aging Soviet-built hulls, especially when many were exported long ago. Damage here is not just repair work, it is long-term shrinkage. There were signs that the damage was not limited to steel hulls and scorched paint. United 24 Media cited military analysts who noticed a dark spot along the pier near where the Project 1124 corvettes were positioned. That can point to a direct strike on port infrastructure or to secondary fire spreading from the ships onto the pier itself. Either way, it matters. A naval base is a system. Piers, mooring points, cables, fuel lines, and repair access all decide how fast a fleet can recover. If the pier is damaged, ships cannot be moved, serviced, or rearmed on schedule. That slows everything Russia still tries to do from this port. And it creates a trap. The longer vessels stay clustered near damaged infrastructure, the more predictable they become for follow-on raids. Step back and the bigger failure becomes clear. Novorossiysk was meant to be the answer to Sevastopol. The logic was distance plus stronger air defenses, plus electronic warfare cover. A port further east would raise the cost for Ukraine and reduce the odds of a decisive hit. But the March 1 to March 2 raid shows those assumptions no longer hold. Ukraine did not need to win a naval battle at sea. It only needed to reach the harbor, saturate defenses, and turn a protected base into a contested zone. Once that happens, every ship inside Novorossiysk becomes less of an asset and more of a hostage to the next strike window. This strike also lands in a Black Sea context, where Russia has been losing margin for a long time. Defense Express, citing UK Defense Intelligence analysis, described the Black Sea fleet as significantly weakened, noting that Ukrainian forces have destroyed or damaged at least 25 Russian Navy vessels operating in the Black Sea since the full-scale invasion. That is not a temporary setback, it is a structural decline, where each additional loss reduces Russia's ability to patrol, escort, and threaten from the water. Add 5 more ships hit in one night, and the fleet's remaining options narrow again. Moving commanders around does not change the basic problem. A fleet that cannot safely base, cannot safely sail, and cannot safely defend its ports becomes a limited tool, even if it still exists on paper. And the raid expanded beyond warships. Ukrinform reported that Ukraine's general staff confirmed strikes on the Shaskaris oil terminal, with a large-scale fire recorded at the site and preliminary confirmation of damage to the terminal's oil loading piers and a radar station from an S-400 complex. That combination is the real warning. When a strike hits ships, fuel infrastructure, and air defense sensing in the same operation, it is not only punishment, it is preparation. Removing radar and degrading air defense coverage opens corridors for future drones and missiles. Damaging oil handling disrupts logistics and revenue. The port was supposed to be a shield. The report suggests it is now a vulnerability Russia must keep defending every single night. Euromaidan Press added that the same raid damaged the guidance radar for an S-300 and hit a Pantsir S-2 system, while also knocking out 6 oil loading berths at the terminal. With fewer berths operating, logistics tighten, even if only for days. And there were casualties. Euromaidan Press reported 3 sailors killed and 14 wounded. In human terms, that is loss. In military terms, it underlines how quickly a port can turn from shelter into hazard. Ukraine has hit Novorossiysk before, but not like this, and not with 5 ships in one night. This kind of operation will be studied for years, just like the ground action at Siversk mentioned earlier in our coverage. Subscribe to my channel, Sophie Edward, comment with your thoughts, and share this video. Because the Black Sea is no longer Russia's backyard, and the next target list is still unfinished.